Good morning, everyone, and happy Cinco de Mayo. It means, well, it's not really Mexican Independence Day, but it's a festive Mexican holiday celebrating the, the battle that kicking, I think, Emperor Maximilian or something. But anyway, it is an excuse for guacamole and tamales, and in Southern California, it's a wonderful big festive occasion. I hope you heard my Atalanta and Caledon chorus from Swinburne to the tune of the Mexican Hat Dance just a few moments ago. If not, scroll down the page and treat yourself to that performance. Anyway, today we're talking about the cup as a magical weapon. And, I usually travel a lot, or back in the old days, I traveled a lot. And just carrying a deck of tarot cards with you, in a sense, you're carrying all of your magical weapons, your wands, swords, cups, and discs. And today we're going to talk about the cup, the magic cup. And we're reading from Homemade Magic. The subtitle of this edition was Musings and Mischief of a Do-It-Yourself Magus. Now, I don't claim the grade of magus. Okay, that was a publisher's idea. Uh, in a generic sense, every magician is a generic magus, but we serious magicians take these titles seriously, and believe me, I'm not a magus. Okay, we finished talking about the magical sword yesterday. Today, chapter 8, the magical cup. It's an epigram here. The magic of the cup comes not from its form or its beauty or the material from which it is composed. The magic of the cup simply comes from its ability to embody profound and perfect emptiness. Now, I'm going to digress just for a second here. The disadvantage of listening to somebody read the material is you don't get to take advantage of the nuances of the punctuation and spelling and emphasis that can be shown on the printed page. In other words, many words in my writings are italicized. Sometimes they're italicized to represent stress, an accent stress in the context of the word in a sentence. And sometimes the italicized words are indicative of a deeper magical meaning. For instance, the word understanding. The word understanding is also the title of Bina, number 3 on the Tree of Life, and a reference to the magical grade of Master of the Temple. The word wisdom, I might italicize the word wisdom in a sentence, meaning that I'm also perhaps referring to the second Sephirah on the Tree of Life, Hokmah, which actually is that magical grade of Magus. Or I might use the word crown, and that would be italicized, perhaps reference to Kether at the top. Or foundation, reference to Sephirah number 9. Or splendor, or kingdom. Okay, do you see what I mean? So as I'm reading along in the narrative here, when I come across the word understanding, it just, how would you know that I'm I'm winking at you in that sentence. So I'll try to wink as I read this to you, okay? The magic cup is the magician's understanding, not so much active intellectual understanding, which is the function of the sword, but the profound and passive understanding of the heart, an understanding that transcends the reasoning process. It is through this understanding that the magician's work is purified. The cup is the first letter He, H, in the great name Yod-He, Vav-He. It represents the element of water and the second highest aspect of the human soul, the soul intuition, or the neshama, or neshma. Pronounce it any way you want. Don't worry about it. It is impossible to properly comment on the nature of the cup without also discussing the wand. Indeed, the cup and the wand are a team. Supreme cosmic lovers. The wand is the ultimate active, positive projection of light, energy, and love. And the cup is the ultimate passive, negative receptacle of all light, energy, and love. If we were to use familiar astronomical illusions, the wand is the sun, which projects and radiates light, and the cup is the moon, which passively receives and reflects the sun's light. Continuing with that theme, because that might seem like a limited role for the cup, but continuing with that theme, the wand is all galaxies of stars, and the cup is the infinite womb of space itself. If we were to speak in religious terms, the wand is the active process of worship, of chanting or of prayer, while the cup is the still, silent waiting for the deity's response after worship. Formal magical ceremonies usually begin with the cleansing of the temple. This is done with water from the cup. Even before the magician starts the ceremony, he or she bathes in pure water and puts on clean vestments. The cleansing of the body and clothes is a function of the cup. Christians are initially baptized. Muslims perform wudu before praying in the mosque. Jews of old were fully immersed in the mikvah pool outside the temple. And many initiatory societies ritualistically bathe the candidate for initiation. The magician sees all these gestures of purification as the function of the magic cup. And without a cup, the magician is just not ready to do business. Obviously, all this translates neatly into the familiar allegories of human sexuality and all the wondrous issues that accompany the concepts of physical and emotional love. For us, sex is the clearest, simplest, magical metaphor for the mechanics of creation. And the cup represents the female aspect in everything and in everyone. Under the heading Making or Selecting Your Homemade Cup. Once again, I confess that I did not make my own magic cup. I just don't have the skill or the resources to fashion a viable cup. My cup is simply a stemmed brass chalice that was given to me as a gift from a dear friend on the eve of our first Gnostic Mass Constance and I celebrated in 1978. We have used it for every Mass since. I can think of no more sacred, magical, or precious cup for me to use in magical ceremonies. You could say I'm in the process of perpetually consecrating my cup. For me, this process is the essence and power of the cup. So I would like to take a bit of space in this book to share what exactly that means to me. I hope it'll help with your understanding of what your cup can mean to you in your magical journey. As I just mentioned, my cup is a simple brass chalice. Brass tarnishes easily and quickly. So each time I intend to use my cup, I must first polish it to pristine brilliance. You might think that taking time to polish a brass prior to every magical operation is an inconvenience, and you'd be right. Constance makes me polish every brass thing in the house before we do Mass. But I digress. It's a real pain. I grumble out loud as I dodge the deadly black widow spiders in the garage as I search for the brass polish and rags and newspapers and paper towels. The brass cleaner is nasty and toxic, which is why Constance makes me keep it in the infernal depths of the garage. It stinks so strongly, I have to do my polishing on the patio in the backyard. I don't dare wear any clothes that I ever intend to wear again. So I strip down to just a pair of old swimming trunks. Even in the bitter Southern California winters, I should probably go. I'm sure the neighbors over the fence must be disgusted at the sight of a crabby, half-naked old wizard muttering to himself, but I don't care. Once I begin, I just want to get the job over with. I've got magic to do. I vigorously shake the can of brass polish, pop off the crusty lid, and soak my rag with a generous dose of the caramel-colored liquid. I slather my cup inside and out with that vile-smelling poison and start to rub it in. Everything on the surface of the cup almost immediately turns black, a sign that the chemicals are working on the brass. Then, just like clockwork, my whole attitude changes. I become focused. I become inspired. I actually start to enjoy my work. I see my labor for what it really is, a magical operation, a consecration ceremony. This is not a household chore. It's alchemy, prayer, worship, devotion, adoration. It's love. Every smudge, every stain, and every little lip mark and fingerprint left on the metal from the vicissitudes of my last magical operation, my last incarnation, I now see as traces of so many karmic debts, stains upon my soul, stains that I can now wipe clean with the polish of my devotion, my love, my understanding. I change rags and start to wipe away the excess polish. As my cup slowly turns from black to gold, I begin to take an almost obsessive interest in buffing away every blemish. I turn the cup over and over in my hand, seeking out any remnant of past laziness, selfishness, thoughtlessness, anything that could have left its shameful smear upon my beloved cup. Some marks are very stubborn, so I have to reapply the polish several times. My fingers are now black. The cuticles of my fingernails have become blackened crescent moons, but finally my beautiful cup, now warm with the friction of my ardor, mirrors in immaculate detail the golden glory of the sun. In those few moments, I've become the soot-blackened Vulcan Hephaestus, clumsily caressing in my brutish hands the delicate pink body of my bride Venus. I stop polishing only when I understand in my soul that I now hold in my hands the Holy Grail itself. Until I understand that when I put this sacred vessel to my lips, I'll be drinking the life of the sun, the elixir of life, the dew of immortality. Under the section, Your Magic Cup. Not everyone is as inept as I am in the workshop. You might be more handy with metal or wood or glass and have all the necessary resources to fashion your own cup from scratch. If so, you might want to look at a few images of examples of magic cups that are found in abundance on the internet. One classic example of a magic cup has a triangular base, a spherical center stem, and a crescent moon for a bowl. That's sort of a classic Golden Dawn. Because of its association with the moon and water, silver is a most appropriate metal for a magic cup. But glass, brass, pewter, wood are also proper materials. Blues, silvers, and sea greens are perfect colors. Even though I've never made a cup myself, a friend of ours described how her husband once made one for himself. Before her death in 2003, the DuQuettes were privileged to be friends with Helen Parsons Smith, the widow of two great American magicians, Jack Parsons and Wilfred Smith. Helen told us how Jack had made his own crude cup. He purchased two very thin sheets of pure silver, one perfectly round, about 8 inches in diameter, the other square, about 5 inches square. He took the round piece of silver to the beach in Malibu and laid it out on the wet sand at the water's edge. He then carefully proceeded to pound the center of the disc with a wooden pestle. It took quite a long time, but eventually he beat the round disc into the semblance of a bowl of a cup. Back at home at his workshop, he used a jeweler's saw to cut out 3 identical crescent moons from the square piece of silver. Once those were cleaned and polished, he soldered the moons to the side of the bowl to form 3 legs. Simple, beautiful, and he did it all himself. Ideas for an on-the-road improvised homemade cup is the next section. About 10 years ago, I was speaking in Oslo and had the need of a magic cup for a magical operation I intended to perform. The following evening, I was staying with friends in my temple, and my temple was the guest room of their home. Before retiring, I performed the water section of the preliminary invocation of the Goetia, with the object of locating an appropriate travel magic cup. No sooner had I concluded the ritual than my host knocked on the door of my room and announced we would be visiting the Vigeland Sculpture Park in Oslo the next morning. I don't know if you've ever been there. Wow. Okay. The park is one of the most breathtakingly beautiful places I've ever seen. I toured with about a dozen local lodge members who'd all been there many times. Before we headed home, we all wanted to visit the gift shop. A young lady from our party called my name and motioned me over to an exhibit of tiny pewter wine cups, replicas of ancient Norwegian ritual cups. My face lit up, and she sensed that I liked them very much. "I'll buy one for you," she said. I made the most insincere and feeble attempt to protest. It's been my travel cup ever since. Now I'm going to pause for a second because I want to show you something. This box is, I tuck it away in my suitcase when I travel. And I love cigar boxes, and this one's really cool because it's got a thing like this, and it functions as my altar too. So take the lid off, and first of all, this is my what I use as my magic wand. It's a very nice Waterman pen. That is my wand. Okay. Let me put it back nicely because it's really cool. That is my dagger. This is what I cut my chest with every April 10th. Yeah, this is the one that you saw me do that thing with. And I've had it for years and years. I got it at the Sharper Image a million years ago. Okay. It's funny when I go to the doctor. You know, I don't cut myself very, very deeply during the Mass of the Phoenix, but I do cut myself. And it does leave a scar. And so I've also got a tattoo on my chest. But anyway, I've got like 30 scars on my chest. You can't really see them very much, but a doctor can sure see it. And every time I take my shirt off in front of the doctor, he goes, "Whoa, have you had heart surgery?" And I said, "In a way, yes." You know. Okay, but that's that. And this is my magical disc, which is the magical disc that Phyllis Seckler and Grady McMurtry presented to me on August 14th, 1976. As you can see, it's just a really inexpensive little coaster that Phyllis hand painted. And over the years, you can see how the paint has deteriorated. And on the back, I've attached my own pentacle. So that's my pentacle. That's my wand. That's my sword. And this is that cup. It's very beautiful. And it's very compact. And it requires my own hands to hold it. So, but anyway, I digress. Let me put all this away. Oh, and then I, close this up and set everything up on my altar. I got a little candle in there and a few matches, and that's it. Okay, where am I? Once you've designed, made, or obtained your cup, you'll have, in essence, installed it permanently in your magic self. I say the same thing for every one of these tools. That's where it truly exists. That's where you use it. From that point on, any material receptacle you choose to be your cup is your cup. It's desirable, however, that it be somewhat cup-like and evocative of the spiritual attributes of water. Here are a few things I've used on the road for my magic cup. A wine or cocktail glass, a coffee cup, a bottle cap, a tree leaf, a nutshell, a gourd, a rose, my own cupped hands. Okay, once again, I've probably gone too long. Tomorrow we'll pick up and talk about the magic wand. Okay, go get some guacamole, you guys, and tequila, if you're into that, or beer, or iced tea, whatever. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow to talk about the magic wand. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love's the law, love and her will.